The helicopter blades thumped like a frantic heartbeat against the endless blue sky. But I barely heard them over the roar in my own chest. My mouth tasted of copper and sand. Each breath a shallow rasp that clawed at my throat. And as the world blurred into streaks of ochre and shadow, I thought this was it. The quiet fade to black I'd always feared but never named. Then her voice cut through. Sharp and steady. Hang on, darlin'. I've got you, and rough hands hauled me from the cracked earth, wrapping me in something that smelled like leather and faint lavender, pulling me back from the edge I'd tumbled over hours ago, lost in the Nevada Badlands with nothing but regret for company. I woke to the hum of air conditioning and the sting of saline in my veins. My body heavy as if the desert had poured itself into my bones. The room was small, sterile, walls painted that institutional beige that screams temporary. A single window framing the sprawl of Las Vegas lights flickering to life beyond the hospital grounds. Faith stood there by the bed, arms crossed over her khaki uniform, the badge on her chest catching the last rays of sunset like a promise. She was all angles and quiet strength. Mid-30s I'd guess, with short-cropped hair that framed a face weathered by too many shifts under unforgiving suns. Hazel eyes that held stories she hadn't told yet. "You're one tough cookie," she said. Her voice low, laced with that drawl from somewhere deep in the Southwest. Maybe Arizona roots. I tried to sit up, but pain lanced through my side, forcing a hiss from my lips. And she was there in an instant, her hand gentle on my shoulder, calluses rough against my skin. That touch lingered a beat too long, warm and unyielding, stirring something in me I hadn't felt since the world last made sense. She pulled up the vinyl chair, settling in like she'd done this 100 times, though her eyes said otherwise. "Name's Faith Harper. Nevada Highway Patrol. Found you out there by sheer dumb luck. Or maybe the patron saint of idiots was watching." I managed a weak laugh, but it dissolved into a cough, and she handed me a cup of water, her fingers brushing mine, sending a spark up my arm that had nothing to do with static. "Hope Ellis." I croaked out my name. Freelance photographer chasing shadows in the desert for a story on forgotten ghost towns. But one wrong turn off Route 95, and the sun had turned my Jeep into a coffin of heat. Dehydration hit like a freight train. Phone dead. Water gone by noon. I'd stumbled for miles. Visions of my ex's face mocking me from the haze. The one who'd left me hollowed out in Seattle rain 2 years back. Faith nodded. No judgment in her gaze. Just a quiet listening that made the room feel less like a cage. She talked then. Easy words about her beat. Pulling drunks from ditches and chasing speeders across salt flats. But her pauses spoke louder. Sighs that carried the weight of lonely nights. By the time the nurse bustled in with meds, I'd learned she grew up in a trailer park outside Tucson. Joined the force to escape the cycle her mama couldn't break. And now at 35, she wondered if the badge was armor or anchor. Our eyes met across the dimming light. And in that shared silence, something shifted. A thread pulling taut between us. Fragile but insistent. Discharge came 2 days later. Papers signed with a flourish that hid my trembling hands. Faith insisted on driving me to my motel on the Strip. Her patrol SUV rumbling through neon canyons where gamblers laughed too loud and fountains danced for tips. "Can't let you wander off again," she joked. But her grip on the wheel tightened at intersections, as if the city itself might swallow me whole. We stopped at a drive-thru for burgers, grease soaking the paper as we sat in the parking lot. Windows down to the warm November air carrying hints of chlorine and distant mariachi. She unwrapped hers slow, like savoring a ritual, and asked about my photos. The ones I'd left baking in the Jeep. I pulled out my backup camera from my bag, scrolling through shots of rusted diners and wind-scoured ruins. Each frame a confession of chasing beauty in broken places. Her laugh came soft when I showed her a coyote mid-leap. "That's life, ain't it? Always jumpin' before lookin'. But then her face sobered. Fork paused mid-air. And she admitted the desert rescues haunted her. Faces like mine blurring into the ones she couldn't save. I reached across the console, my hand covering hers, skin warm and real, and whispered, "You saved this one." The air thickened, her breath catching, eyes locking on mine with an intensity that made my pulse stutter. We drove the rest of the way in quiet, the radio murmuring country ballads about lost loves and second chances. And when she walked me to my door, the key stuck in the lock, her hand steadied mine again, closer now, the space between us humming with unspoken what-ifs. That night, sleep evaded me. Sheets tangled like my thoughts. The desert's grip lingered in my dreams. Sand shifting underfoot. But Faith's voice anchored me, pulling me awake with a gasp. I padded to the window, Vegas sprawling below like a fever dream, and wondered if she'd felt it too. That pull? Electric and terrifying. Morning brought coffee from the lobby machine, bitter as regret. And a text from an unknown number, breakfast? On me. F. My heart tripped over itself. Fingers hovering before typing yes. The simplest word carrying the weight of beginnings. We met at a diner off the boulevard. Vinyl booths cracked from years of confessions. Waitresses calling orders in sing-song Spanglish. Faith arrived in civvies. Jeans faded at the knees. A flannel shirt rolled to elbows revealing forearms tanned and scarred from badge life. She slid in across from me. 2 mugs steaming between us. And for the first time, I saw the woman beneath the uniform. Lines around her eyes from squinting at horizons. A smile that crinkled them soft. We talked easy at first. About my Seattle roots. Rainy streets and coffee shops where I'd honed my lens on strangers' secrets. How the move west was flight from a gallery curator who'd promised forever but delivered silence. Her stories wove in. Tales of academy drills and Phoenix heat. First solo patrol where she tasered a meth head twice her size. The quiet pride in her voice masking the loneliness of holidays spent with TV dinners. Laughter bubbled up when I teased her cowboy boots. Scuffed but polished. And she shot back about my hipster camera bag, but then a pause. Her spoon stirring sugar endless circles. And she said low. Never thought I'd find someone out in the middle of nowhere who'd stick in my head like this. My throat tightened. Words failing. So I just nodded. Our knees brushing under the table. A contact that lingered. Warm and deliberate. The days blurred into a rhythm neither of us named. She'd swing by after shifts. Patrol car idling curbside like a secret. And we'd wander Fremont Street, where zipline screamers lit the night electric. One evening, as fire dancers spun flames in the old downtown, she bought me a cheap LED bracelet, snapping it on my wrist with fingers that trembled just a touch. Keeps you safe, she murmured. Close enough her breath ghosted my ear, sending shivers unrelated to the desert chill. We shared churros from a cart, sugar dusting lips. And in the crowd's press, her hand found mine, interlacing fingers with a squeeze that said more than words. Back at the motel, she'd linger in the doorway, excuses thin as the air between us. Until one night, thunder rumbling distant from mountain storms, she stepped inside, door clicking shut soft. The room felt smaller, charged, her silhouette against the lamp's glow. Hope, she breathed. My name a question. And I crossed the space, hands framing her face, thumbs tracing jawlines rough with day's stubble shadow. Our lips met tentative, then fierce, tastes of salt and sweetness, her arms banding around me like the desert lifeline. We tumbled to the bed, clothes shedding like old skins, her touch mapping me slow, reverent, sighs mingling in the dark. Dawn found us tangled, her head on my chest, heartbeat steady under my palm. And in that hush, I knew this was no rebound, but something deeper. A root taking hold in arid soil. Weeks stretched into a fragile normal. But the desert's shadow clung stubborn. My Jeep towed back. Scratched but salvageable. Sat in the motel lot like accusation. Photos developed in a rushed job at a 1-hour lab. Frames capturing the Badlands' brutal poetry. Faith poured over them one afternoon. Feet up on my rickety table. Coffee cooling untouched. They're you, she said. Voice thick. Tracing a finger over a shot of bleached bones half buried in dunes. I shrugged it off. But her eyes held mine. Seeing the fractures I'd hidden behind lenses. The way loss had carved me hollow long before the sun struck. That night, she opened up over takeout Thai in her cramped apartment off the strip. Walls lined with commendations and a single photo of her with a younger brother. Both grinning gap-toothed at some long-ago rodeo. Mama drank herself gone when I was 16, she confessed. Chopsticks paused. Gaze fixed on the foam containers, steam curling like ghosts. Left me raisin him. Workin' doubles at a gas station till the academy called. Her laugh was bitter. Self-deprecating. Thought the badge would fix it all. Make me unbreakable. I set my plate aside. Sliding closer on the couch. My hand on her knee. Feeling the tremor she tried to still. You're not broken, Faith. You're the strongest damn woman I've met. She leaned into me then. Head on my shoulder. A sigh escaping long and ragged. The weight of unspoken years pressing us closer. But cracks spiderwebs settle. My editor in New York pinged emails. Deadlines looming for the ghost town spread. Pulling me toward flights and fresh hunts. Faith's shift stretched erratic. Calls crackling over radio about border runs and bar fights. Leaving voicemails laced with fatigue. Miss your voice. Cowgirl. Call when you can. One evening, I waited at her place with candles flickering against takeout cooling on the counter. But she burst in late. Uniform rumpled. Eyes shadowed from a chase gone south. A suspect's wild swing leaving a bruise blooming purple on her cheek. Rough one, she muttered. Shrugging off her jacket. But I pulled her down. Ice pack pressed gentle. My lips brushing the hurt. Talk to me, I whispered. And she did. Words tumbling halting. About the kid she'd cuffed. Barely 20. Eyes hollow as the cells he'd cycle through. We save M from the desert. But the real monsters wait in the cities. Her voice cracked. Hand clutching mine white-knuckled. And in that vulnerability, I saw the fear she buried under bravado. The doubt that maybe her armor rusted from within. We made love slow that night. Bodies speaking what words fumbled. Her whispers against my skin a litany of need. But dawn brought distance. Her rising early for coffee. Back turned as if the night had been dream. The road called insistent. I pitched a drive up the coast. Highway 1's curves hugging Pacific cliffs. A detour before New York swallowed me. Faith hesitated. Calendar marked red with overtime. But her eyes pleaded yes even as lips formed excuses. 2 days, she bargained finally. Packing a duffel with efficient folds. Her touch on mine lingering at the door. We hit the road at dawn. Vegas shrinking rear view. Mojave giving way to Joshua trees clawing skyward. The rental convertible top down. Wind whipping hair wild. We sang off-key to Springsteen. Her hand on my thigh shifting gears. Stops dotted the miles, a roadside stand for date shakes thick as sin. Her laughter bubbling when foam clung to my upper lip. Licked away with a kiss that tasted of palm sweetness. In Barstow. We hiked a dry wash. Her pointing out coyote tracks. Me snapping her profile against red rock. Fierce and alive. But evening in a Big Sur motel. Waves crashing below like accusations. Tension coiled. She paced the balcony. Beer bottle sweating in grip. This. Us. It's fast. Hope. Too fast after everything. I joined her. Arms wrapping from behind. Chin on her shoulder. Scared? She nodded. Breath hitching. Last woman I let in left when the job got real. Said I was married to the badge. The words hung heavy. Salt air thick. And I turned her gentle. Eyes locking. I'm not her. And you're not just a cop. Your faith. My faith. Tears tracked her cheeks then. Silent. And she kissed me desperate. Bodies urgent against the rail. Reclaiming what fear tried to steal. Back in Vegas. The idol fractured. My flight loomed. Ticket printed stark on the kitchen counter. And Faith's silences grew. Patrols ending with curt texts. Tied up. Rain check. I filled days editing shots in coffee shops. Steam fogging windows as doubt crept. Whispers of my ex's ghost, you're too much. Too needy. Always running. One night. Storm winds howling. I drove to the station. Badge desk waving me through to the bullpen's fluorescent buzz. She looked up from reports. Surprise softening to warmth. But then her partner's voice cut in. Harper. You comin' to the barbecue? Bring that girl you won't shut up about. Laughter rippled. Good-natured. But her cheeks flushed. Eyes darting away. In the lot after. Rain sheeting windshield. She gripped the wheel. They're just jokin'. But. It's out there now. Real. Itachiteto. Thumb tracing the pulse jumping. Good. Let it be real. But her sigh was long. Weary. What if it breaks us? The question lingered unanswered as thunder rolled. Miles between us widening. November deepened. Holidays looming like storm fronts. I extended my stay. Visa strings pulled for research, but emails from the agency sharpened. Quotas unmet. Faith threw herself into work. Volunteering for extra border details. Coming home smelling of diesel and dust. Collapsing beside me with exhausted grace. We'd lie awake. Fingers tracing patterns on skin. Her story spilling in whispers, a rescue gone right. Migrant family huddled in arroyo. Kids eyes wide with trust she'd earned slow. Makes it worth it, she'd murmur. Voice thick with unshed tears. And I'd hold her tighter. Heart aching at the woman who gave pieces of herself to strangers. Leaving scraps for us. But resentment simmered low. My camera gathering dust. Shots of her sleeping form my only captures. Beauty and repose masking the strain etching lines deeper. One afternoon. Alone in her apartment. I found the drawer. Tucked under socks, letters yellowed. From her brother in the service. Words of pride mingled with pleas for visits never made. Guilt twisted. Sharp. And I wondered if I was just another obligation. A desert stray she'd feed till healed. Then release. The breaking came subtle. Over dinner at a hole-in-the-wall taqueria. Mariachi tapes crackling overhead. She'd been quiet. Fork pushing rice. And when I asked about the day, her answer snapped short. Same shit. Different desert. Silence stretched. Tortilla chips crunching underfoot like brittle bones. Until she set her glass down hard. Water sloshing. You gonna stay? Hope? Or is this just your pit stop? The words landed like blows. Raw and deserved. My own fears mirroring back. I want to, I choked. Hand reaching. But she pulled away. Eyes stormy. Wanton's not enough. Not when the road's always calend. We drove home in charged quiet. Rain lashing glass. And in the doorway. Her back to me. Shoulders rigid. She whispered. Maybe we jumped too soon. After everything. The door closed soft behind her. Leaving me in the hall's chill. Heart fracturing slow. December winds howled through the canyons. Stripping leaves from sparse palms. And Vegas felt vast. Empty without her steady presence. I holed up in the motel. Bills stacking like accusations. Camera slung over shoulder for aimless walks down the strip. Neon mocking my solitude. Texts went unanswered at first. Then sparse, busy. Take care. Each ping a knife twist. Replaying her words. The fear in her eyes that I'd mirrored too well. My ex's voice echoed. Old wounds reopening. But this cut deeper. Laced with what-ifs of a life glimpsed. Then snatched. One gray dawn. I drove back to the Badlands. Jeep tires crunching gravel. Seeking the spot she'd found me. But the earth looked indifferent. Cacti standing sentinel to my unraveling. I snapped frames furious. Sun rising blood orange. But tears blurred the lens. Sobs racking till I slumped against rock. Whispering her name to the wind. Fate. Or stubborn hope. Intervened. A call from my editor. Voice crackling cross-country. Ellis. That desert series? It's gold. But we need personal. The rescue angle. I balked. But the words spilled then. Story pouring out in halting confession. The cop who'd become more. Write it, he urged. Raw. Real. Back in the room. Laptop glowing. I typed till fingers cramped. Words weaving our thread, the pull of her hands. The sigh in her stories. The terror of losing what bloomed fragile. Pages mounted. Catharsis sharp. And by midnight. Draft sent. I crashed heavy. Dreams of her arms anchoring. Morning brought her knock. Hesitant. Coffee tray in hand like olive branch. Read your text. The one about the story. Her voice rough. Eyes red-rimmed. Flannel rumpled from nights apart. I stepped aside. Room cluttered with prints drying. And she wandered. Gaze lingering on shots of us. Candid steals, her laughing at a food truck. Wind tossed, my head on her lap during a drive-in movie. Stars blurring. This is us, she said soft. Finger tracing a frame. And I nodded. Throat tight. Was. Unless. She turned. Closing distance. Hands cupping my face. Thumbs wiping tears I hadn't felt fall. I'm sorry. Scared shitless. But sorry. Her forehead pressed mine. Breath mingling. The job. The past. It makes me push when I should pull closer. I kissed her then. Salt-laced. Desperate. Bodies colliding like storm fronts. Reaffirming in the tangle of sheets. Sighs building to gasps. Her name a mantra against skin. Reconciliation fragile. We rebuilt deliberate. She cut back shifts. Trading overtime for mornings tangled in bed. Coffee brewing slow as we planned. Let's get out, I suggested one lazy afternoon. Sun slanting through blinds. Her head pillowed on my thigh. Real trip. No deadlines. Eyes lighting. She proposed the Grand Canyon. Rim drives and hikes where cell service died merciful. We packed light. Her truck loaded with cooler intent. Hitting the road with windows down. Radio crooning Lucinda Williams. Her hand in mine over console. The miles unwound tension. Vermilion cliffs rising red as we chatted easy. Her teasing my city girl squeamishness at gas station bathrooms. Me ribbing her boot polish routine. Camp that night under starflecked sky. Fire crackling low. She roasted marshmallows clumsy. Goose stringing chin. And I laughed. Licking it clean. Kiss deepening to heat that chased chill. In the tent. Canvas whispering wind. We explored slow. Her touch mapping scars I hadn't shared. Whispers of trust building walls anew. But shadows trailed. At a ranger talk on erosion's patient carve. Her face sobered. Hand squeezing mine. Like us. Slow wear. But stronger for it. Words warmed. Yet doubt lingered. My inbox pinging with offers, Seattle galleries sniffing the story's buzz. Promises of exhibits that tugged east. Nights around embers. She'd trace constellations. Voice low with tales of childhood stargazing. Brother dreaming soldier while she plotted escape. Never thought I'd find anchor here, she admitted. Head on my shoulder. Firelight dancing eyes. I held her close. Heart swelling. But fear gnawed, could I be that steady? Or was I wind? Scattering? Return brought reality's bite. Vegas hummed indifferent. Her precinct buzzing with holiday details. Me fielding calls from agents smelling Pulitzer. One evening. Post-shift. She slumped home. Uniform discarded hasty. Pulled a double. Migrant van rollover. Kids. Voice trailed. Eyes distant. And I drew bathwater steaming. Easing her in. Sponge gliding shoulders tense. Tell me, I urged soft. And she did. Halting. The helplessness choking her. Tiny hands clutching her badge like talisman. Tears came then. Hot on my wrist as I knelt beside. I fix things. Hope. It's what I do. But you. You're the one thing I can't bear breaking. Vulnerability raw. I stripped joining her. Water sloshing. Bodies fitting seamless. Lovemaking tender. Healing. Her sighs dissolving into moans that echoed soul deep. Yet pressure mounted. New Year's loomed. Invitations from her crew, precinct bash. Potluck under 10 with bad karaoke and worse eggnog. Come, she pleaded over breakfast. Syrup sticky fingers interlaced. Meet impropre. Nerves knotted. But I agreed. Dressing careful in jeans and blouse. Camera left behind for once. The yard pulsed lively. Grill smoking ribs. Laughter booming as partners swapped war stories. Her captain clapped her back. Harper's girl. Huh? The desert legend. Blushes heated. But welcomes warmed. Beers pressed hand. Toasts to the one who tamed our Wild West. Faith glowed. Arm around waist possessive. But whispers reached, job's tough on him. Seen too many burn out. Doubt flickered. Her glance catching mine. Squeeze reassuring. Midnight fireworks burst. Colors shattering dark. Her kiss under sparks fierce. Here's to us, but cheers faded. Leaving echo of fragility. January chilled. Resolutions fraying. My story published. Pages crisp in mailbox. Words immortalizing our spark. But backlash simmered subtle, precinct murmurs of a glory hound, her partner's joke landing sour. Careful. Faith. Don't let the lens blind ya. She brushed it off. But tension coiled. Dinner's quiet. Her patrol's ending later. One blizzard night. Snow rare and sticking. I waited with Coco. But she stormed in. Cheeks flushed. They think you're using me. For the angle. Hurt lanced. Sharp. That's not, but she paced. Voice rising edged. Feels like it sometimes. Like I'm just the hero in your frame. Silence deafened. Storm howling window. And I stood. Bag half packed in mind. Maybe I should go. Give us space. Door slammed behind me. Cold biting. Tears freezing tracks as I wandered neon-lit streets. Heart adrift. The walk cleared nothing. Boots crunching slush. Strips glow mocking isolation. Hours later. Key turned in her lock. Room empty but for coat draped chair. Note scrawled hasty, at the ridge. Come if you want. Heart pounding. I drove twisting roads to the overlook she'd shown me once. City lights sprawling below like scattered jewels. She sat tailgate. Blanket wrapped. Flask glinting moon pale. Couldn't let it end like that, she said as I climbed up. Voice raw. Handing the metal over. Whiskey burning path to gut. We sat shoulder to shoulder. Words tumbling awkward at first. Apologies layering thick. I lashed out. The job makes me paranoid. Seeing threats everywhere. Her hand found mine. Cold fingers warming slow. You're not using me. Hope. You're the first real thing in years. I leaned head on shoulder. Sigh escaping shared. And you're my anchor. But I pushed too. Running from still. Stars wheeled overhead. Vast and indifferent. And in that hush. Truth settled, love not flawless. But forged in friction. Resilient as canyon stone. Spring thought us gradual. I deferred the Seattle pull. Pitching remote work. Laptop humming from her kitchen table while she brewed endless pots. Kisses stolen mid-sentence. We hiked Red Rock weekends. Trails winding slot canyons where echoes amplified laughs. Her hand steady on descents. Mine capturing her silhouette against vermilion walls. Strength etched in every line. Stories deepened, my father's quiet alcoholism. Camera my escape from dinner table silences, her mama's final letter. Forgiveness scrawled shaky. Closure she'd chased in badges and borders. Intimacies wove tighter. Nights bodies entwined. Her touch evoking sighs that bordered pleas. Mornings waking to her coffee breath. Murmurs of forever casual but weighted. Conflict crested subtle. Summer heat wave blanketing valley. Her precinct strained. Staffing short. Calls piling, overdoses in trailer parks. Domestic spilling streets. One midnight. Radio crackled urgent. Her leaping from bed. Gotta go. Family dispute. Sounds bad. I nodded. Fear coiling. But hours stretched. Worry gnawing till dawn's knock. Her collapsing doorframe. Uniform torn. Lip split. Kids were in the crossfire, she whispered. Collapsing couch. My arms gathering. Ice on bruises. Rage simmered. This job's killing you slow. She stiffened. Eyes flashing. It's my life? Hope. Can't walk away. Argument brewed low. Words like embers. Her storming bedroom. Door clicking final. Alone kitchen. Coffee cold. I waited, love demanding sacrifice. Hers the badge. Mine the lenses wander. Dawn found me packing quiet. Note left, need time. Love you still. Flight to Seattle blurred. Clouds below mirroring turmoil. City rain welcomed familiar. But hollowed. Apartment echoing empty. Gallery opening loomed. My desert shots framed stark. Murmurs of inspiring, ringing tinny. Brother called. Voice gruff concern. Heard about the cop. You okay? Lies tumbled easy. But nights replayed her sighs. Touch ghosting skin. Ache deepening. Weeks blurred. Emails unanswered. Until package arrived, her boots. Scuffed. Wrapped careful. Letter tucked, these carried me to you. Keep ing chui an ingbeck. Faith. Tears blurred ink. Resolve cracking. Fingers dialing before thought. Return unannounced. Plane touching down heat shimmer. Cab racing precinct. She emerged shift's end. Uniform crisp. Eyes widening shock to joy. Arms crushing as I whispered. Can't run anymore. Her place that night. Bodies frantic reclaiming. Sighs dissolving barriers. But morning brought talk. Raw over pancake sticking pan. Quit if it breaks us, I urged. But she shook head. I steady. No. But balance. Therapy. Maybe. Shorter shifts. Compromise tasted sweet. Tentative. Her kiss sealing. Together. We drove then. Desert calling. Jeep reclaimed. Her hand on mine as miles unspooled. Climax brewed autumn. Wildfires raging Sierras. Her unit deployed aid. Trucks loaded supplies. Weak tops, she promised. Duffel slung. Kiss lingering airport curb. Days dragged. Newsfeeds flames devouring. My vigil pacing. Calls static laced, miss you. Stay safe. Then blackout. Radio silence 48 hours. Heart seizing. Visions of her caught in blaze. Airport run futile. Flights grounded smoke. Until dawn's ping, safe. Evac done. Home soon. Relief buckled knees. Sobs racking. Love's fragility edged bone deep. Reunion airport chaos. Her striding terminal. Soot streaked. Arms lifting me spinning. Kiss salt and smoke. Thought I lost you, I gasped. And she held tighter. Never. You're my north. Vegas welcome changed. Us tempered. Her badge lighter load with counselor's nods. My work hybrid. Coasts bridged. Holidays healed. Her brother's visit bridging gaps. Laughter filling spaces once silent. Toasts to family chosen. Years folded gentle. Wedding small. Justice's chambers. Rings simple silver. Vows whispered, through deserts and rains. Life wove, her sergeant stripes. My book deal on border lives. Shots capturing humanity's grit. Children came borrowed. Nieces tumbling visits. Her patience infinite. My lens stealing joys. Old now. 60s creasing faces. We sit porch swing. Desert sunset painting sky fire. Hands laced weathered. Saved me twice, I murmur. Head on shoulder. Her sigh content. You saved me first. Dusk settles. Stars pricking. Legacy not grand gestures but quiet endurance. Love's humanistic echo, in flaws. We find whole. In letting go. We hold eternal.